Hey y'all, it's me, Queen J, back with another episode of Let's Get Uncomfortable. So, I just want to say that the next episodes that are going to be released, they are going to have um, a part one and a part two. They're going to be dropped in separate sections just because I don't want to overwhelm y'all with everything that we talked about, but listen, this panel was absolutely a success. It was fantabulous. And I just want to say, like, a special thanks to everybody that is wanted to be a part of the panel. I really appreciate y'all for helping me see this through. And with that being said, you guys are gonna get this in like a one or two part type of panel type of thing. So that's what I'm working on. So there will be a poll for each section of the episodes that I do release. So the poll will just be I'll leave it up for I'll try to leave this one up for at least a couple of days so that way we can get everyone's responses and we can see how everyone felt about the episode and if they want more panels. But thank you again. Special thanks to everyone that wanted to be included in the panel. We got a nice, spectacular lineup, from conversations with other business moguls to conversations with friends and a licensed therapist to other conversations with just these are Black female powerhouses, okay? These are Black bosses. These are Black female bosses who are honestly just killing the damn game right now. Like they are doing their thing. We are expressive and we're all collectively working to heal. So that being said, thank you for seeing and hearing me. This has been Queen J with the precursor to the Black History Month guest panel. Thanks.
Hey y'all, it's me, Queen J, with a brand new episode of Let's Get Uncomfortable. And now, as y'all know, before we even get into today's topic and things like that, we always start with a bit of mindfulness. But I want to do a little bit of a trigger warning in the beginning here, just because I want it to be known that we're going to be talking about things that might get a little bit uncomfortable as far as our topic for the day. We're going to be talking about like support systems and some people may not have or feel like they have support systems, and I know all too well that that can be a little triggering, but I just wanted to put that right there for you guys in the beginning. um but yeah, I apologize that I've been gone for a while, but I got something really special in store to kick off Black History Month. Yes, I have a all Black guest panel for the remainder of the episodes that I'm so excited to kick off. And we are going to kick it off with a person who is near and dear to my heart and who is actually a therapist. And the topic that we're going to get into today, y'all are in for a treat. You guys are in for a treat. But with that being said, we're not going to get into our little mindfulness. So we consider ourselves, a little woosah moment. Okay. So it's now time to pause, breathe, and relax. It is now time for us to open our minds to be interested in learning about healing in this lifetime. It is now time that we enter a space without judgment and only grace so that we can be receptive to learning how to navigate obstacles that come up within healing. It is now time for us to center our minds so that we are receptive to learning new ways to navigate around healing within this lifetime. It is now time that we grant ourselves patience, kindness, and love as we enter this new space. All right, y'all. I hope that that brought y'all some peace, some clarity, that set your mind at ease. Because as always, it did that just for me. So, without further ado, Like I said, we get into today's topic. It's a good one. It's a good one. I have my near and dear friend Mindy, who is a licensed therapist here, and we are going to be talking about the benefits of community and the benefits of utilizing our support system as we are navigating life, healing, its challenges, all of that. So, hey,
Hey girl.
Mindy, how are you? Let's start with that.
I'm doing pretty well. I have just been chilling.
That's
I'm in
good.
between jobs right now, so I'm just
This is perfect. So
resting.
you're in transition. So this is perfect
Yeah.
to be talking about. Okay, okay. So I want to start with you kind of introducing what it is that you focus on within in your practice as a therapist. What is it that you specifically target, or who is it that you specifically work with? I should say.
So when I start my new job, I'll be working with um kids between the ages of 3 and 7. Um, but in the past, I've worked with adults. I used to work at a school. Um, my past job was community mental health. So um, I definitely met all types of people with all types of um, stuff going on and
Mm-hmm.
things affecting them. Um, so yeah.
That's awesome. So you got a pretty much your hand in all the different demographics here. You know, you're saying like we work with early childhood, and now we've worked with adults. You know, and in between that age gap as well. So, what would you say is the biggest thing or the biggest hurdle to get people to understand about um, uh, the benefits of having the right people around them and the right to figuring out what their support system could actually look like.
Um, so I feel like we really I think this world is just moving more like individualistic. A
Mm,
lot of people um are just very they're just very like I can just get it on my own. Um like community is not really rewarded. It's kind of just um I think people I think you get a lot of praise when
mm-hmm.
you like get it out the mud or like you
Oh,
do things that are just like you I think at least a lot of times I see like a lot of people praise people for like just not asking for help.
yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that a lot of times will can come from trauma too. Like
Mm-hmm.
um maybe some people feel like they can't rely on others
Mm-hmm.
because of past experiences. So like um their trauma affects the way that they interact with other people.
Okay.
Um but I mean this I think this world is just um regard like that's some people, but I feel like this world is just like rewards um individualism.
Yeah, it
So
definitely does. I can definitely, when you just said what you said, the sentence that you just said, it really reminded me of how you said a lot of people praise others for getting it out the mud. And it kind of started to make me think like, would you say that there is a community wound there, or there's a wound there where people have put their trust in someone else to maybe kind of either like guide them along or kind of be there as that the people that they could like lean on, and it doesn't actually take place, and maybe that's where that, okay, I might as well just get it out the mud. I might as well just do it by myself because I have now been shown I can't rely on other people. I might as well, I like, at least if I don't rely on other people, then I have nobody else to blame but myself for whatever happens, right?
yeah.
Almost. Okay.
Yeah,
We
feel
gotta
I
come up.
definitely I definitely agree with that. There is like a community wound, and just like a lot of people have been let down by other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it can be hard to just like try again and like trust people. And a lot of people think the easy way out is just to trust themselves, but
Woo, woo! You ain't saying nothing but a word because that is probably like our default setting sometimes, especially as people who have survived from traumatic experiences. That's probably like the default setting is like, well, it can like there's so many different trauma wounds, but for me specifically, I would have said like that just made me think like, well, dang, I mean, I might as well be hyper independent because look, look, I gave my I tried I tried and it didn't work the way that I wanted it to work, so I might as well take it on my own and do it myself. And I see
yeah.
exactly how that comes about because I've been a product of that. I definitely
Yeah.
have. So you hit it right on the head. So when it
Yes.
comes to finding the proper support system for someone who is on the journey of healing and understanding what it does mean to have a loving community. How would you go about um, guiding them through that? Like, what would be one of the first steps, or what would that look like?
I think a big thing for me a lot of times is like I'll write things down. So
Mm,
like if I think a big part of like just interacting in the world is knowing yourself. So what just knowing that what you value. So like you don't get lost in the sauce. So like if you value people that are honest, if you want to have these certain types of experiences, do you value people being funny? Do you value people like um that make you feel safe and all that stuff? And like
uh-huh,
just figuring out like what are some qualities that you like in people. And sometimes you don't really realize that until you interact with people
mm-hmm,
and like get out of like um just like your little bubble. So
uh-huh,
like just going to new places and interacting with people that are not like you or don't really look like you or um stuff like that, and trying to figure out like what feels good to you and within your soul.
ooh,
And just like I'm big on how people make me feel. Like if I'm
me
in
too.
a certain space, are they making me
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm being heard? And are they making me feel like I'm being seen? Are they
Yeah.
respecting me and my thoughts? And
Mm-hmm.
um, do they align with like do they have similar worldviews as well? Like um,
Exactly.
are they safe intellectually?
Ooh,
Um,
you know,
yes.
ooh, okay, girl, that made me. I love what you said. I'm gonna touch on that. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm gonna touch on that. I'm gonna touch on that. What she just said, y'all. I'm gonna run it back. I'm gonna do a little rewind for y'all. She just said, I basically, in a nutshell, I am big on how someone or how people make me feel. So whether or not I feel intellectually safe or emotionally safe, and she and I were
Yeah.
actually really close, and we always talk about whether or not we feel emotionally safe with someone. So it's
Yes.
crazy. It's not crazy, but it's crazy that we're talking about this in terms of community as well, because a lot of times the times that I can count where I have become the most hyper vigilant and hyper independent person that I have ever been was times when I felt like I don't feel like I'm being heard on what I'm saying, or thought that I have is not being valued. So I'm going to remove myself and I'm just going to do it myself. Now, the emotional safety part is new to me because I'm gonna be honest. I didn't realize that meant that was a sign that I wasn't feeling emotionally safe. I didn't realize what that actually meant. And a lot of the
Yeah.
times, people nowadays don't even understand what it means to cultivate an emotional safe space.
It's also, I think
Hmm.
safe spaces are not guaranteed, but I
Ooh,
think you can. you have to put effort in making it as safe as possible.
Of course, yeah. That's the thing that goes a long way. You know,
Yes.
if I see that you're at least making an effort to take what I'm saying into consideration, or to respect my feelings, or to respect what I'm saying, then you're allowing me to take up space. Even if I'm like, I don't really want to take up that much space, but it's on my mind and I got to say it anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you're at least extending that hand and you're saying, how can I help? Or you're saying, do you need me to listen? Or do you need, you're cultivating a space where someone feels comfortable enough to continue taking up space in their own way. Because we all take up space in
Yes.
different ways, y'all. But
And just like being aware of who shows up for you. I think that's a
yes,
big part of um,
yes,
cultivating community. Like who is showing up for you when you need just like a girl time, or like
yeah.
when you just need a friend to call on, or who
Mm-hmm.
show up for you like on your birthday, or like
Mm-hmm.
when you're like how are the vibes when you've reached a big milestone, like when
Yeah,
you
like, are they
graduate,
celebrating your
when you get
wins?
pregnant,
Yeah,
or
that's
maybe if you're
beautiful.
not where you need to be in life, are they still there? Are they encouraging you? Are they respecting this version of you that's
Exactly.
not where it may not be where you want to be yet, too?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Can I say something right quick? Can I touch on that a little bit? Expand
yeah.
on that. So that immediately made me think of, so I listen to other podcasts too. And it immediately made me think of checking your inner circle. Checking those who are like you consider to be part of your inner circle and you're pretty close with, but checking on them also. Like we always hear the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So of course
Hmm.
we need to make sure that we're emotionally good, we're mentally good, right? That's first and foremost. But to cultivate community, a thriving community at least, you're gonna see a community where people are pouring into one another. It's not just a necessary, it's
Yes.
not going to feel like you're taking, you know? And
Yes.
it's not going to feel like, mm, I that person made whatever they made a mistake and I'm going to condemn them for it and I'm going to keep bringing it up to them. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
going to be.
Also showing people grace when
Yes,
they,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at. Showing people grace
yeah.
in where they are. Like,
Yeah.
I love that in my new version of self. I am aware that I'm being hard on myself, and I'm aware of it to the point where I'm like, okay, I can't say those things, right? I can't say those things because I'm speaking that into existence, and I don't want that over my life,
Hmm.
right? But I also love that I have friends like you who will be on me and be like,
Yes.
"Why are you being mean? Why are you being mean? Who are you being mean to right now?" Like
Yes.
y'all gonna check me every time, and I appreciate it. It may take me a
Yeah.
minute to be like, dang, I was mean. Like I was very mean
Like
to
being
myself.
real.
Yes, it's the unfiltered love. Cause love
It's
ain't
like
always
check.
gonna be gentle. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like check. I think love includes checking people on their
Mm-hmm.
BS, and um, forgiving them,
Yes.
and also choosing them consciously. Like
Consciously.
I know that sometimes that goes into like romantic relationships, but like I
Mm-hmm.
think like you have to, a lot of times you have to decide to be somebody's friend. Like
You
you have
do.
to like and figure out what that looks like, because every friendship
Exactly.
is different.
Every friendship is different because we're all different energies, right?
Yes.
And like what we were getting at in the beginning is saying literally the reason why our friendship works, y'all, just to be blunt, is because we're able to be like, nah, that wasn't necessarily the best choice, but I see where you're coming from. You know what I mean? We're able to look
Yes.
at it from different perspectives. We're able to see it like, well, look at it from this angle instead of looking at it from such an angle where it's like, no, I'm right. You have to agree with me. There's
Yes.
flexibility there. There's room for growth. One of my really good friends actually has been showing me that she's been showing me. So she said this. She said, the more that we think that we have something mastered, the easier it is for us to lose it.
Mm.
And we've been talking about that separately, about like loving on ourselves and some other different things. But I think it applies here too, because the more that people think that, oh, I have my community figured out, I have mastered the art
Mm.
of being giving, or the art of being kind, or the or whatever it is, in terms of community, that's when we start to see that it's just when you think that you've mastered it, you're becoming complacent almost. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
these actions don't need anything else because I've already done that. I've already done that,
But
so I
like
don't need to.
there's
Yeah,
always ways to grow as a friend.
yes.
Like,
And that's what she was
yeah.
telling me. The moment that we think that we've mastered something, even as a friend in whatever situation, we risk the chance of losing it because we think that we've mastered it. And once you think you've mastered something, there's no room for improvement. There's no room for
Yes.
growth. So if I think I've mastered a handle on my on navigating around building my support system, then guess what? Sooner or later I'm gonna think, well, I don't need my support system. I already navigated it. I already that's not true.
Yeah.
That's nowhere near true, y'all.
Yeah.
But because I'm thinking, oh, I got this down pat, I don't need my support system. That's what
Yes.
happens. We start to turn inward and we're like, man, my support system, I don't need to lean on them because I'm being a burden. Or I don't need to lean on them because I feel, or whatever we're feeling, right? And we justify it.
Yeah.
But
Like,
that
I'm
just,
equipped to handle this, but like,
yep,
it's okay to want support.
it's okay to want support. And it's also okay to ask for help. As
Yes.
someone who grew up asking all the questions in school, but when it came to being in the home, I ain't asked not nan question. I didn't ask not
Yeah.
another. I had questions, but the questions weren't being answered. There wasn't a safetyness there or a comfortability level where I felt that I could ask those questions without being judged. And that's why I
Yes.
said it's important for us to come at this from an angle of no judgment, just an angle of peace. Because at the end of the day, if I'm judging everything that I'm doing, then I'm not allowing myself, I'm not giving myself grace. I'm not, and that's
Yes.
something that community requires. What were do you remember the three things that Pastor was talking about community? Hold on.
I could go see. I have my
I'm looking at them
notes
right
here.
now. Yes, we pulling out the notes, y'all. This is important. um, oh, I think I got it. I got it. So this is what he had said. We were talking about the benefits of having the right community around us.
Yes.
And one of the key things that he was talking about, he said, your relationships will determine the quality of your life and the direction of your life. And when he said that, that hit me in my gut, in my soul. I felt that because it really had me reassessing those who I was putting effort into and didn't feel like I was being mutually poured back into, so to speak. So essentially, I was being drained, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the other, there's beauty that exists in community because even if you don't have that, or you don't feel that energy of support and that ability to be your authentic self within the community that you have, which is maybe your family or your chosen friends or whatever, there is community out there for you where
Yeah.
people understand you. You're
Yes.
not alone in this feeling. And I used to think that I was alone. I'm not sure, if, Mindy, if you ever felt this way, but I know I definitely did.
Yeah, I
And
definitely I think just at different points in my life, I've
mhm,
definitely felt like I wasn't being seen, or like
mhm,
maybe I was over certain things and like my friends weren't. So like that
mhm,
kind of like isolated me, because
mhm,
especially if you have a friend group that you've had for a long time,
Mhm.
and it can be kind of devastating to realize that you kind of are like outgrowing them, and it can be lonely.
Mhm.
I've definitely experienced that, and just feeling like, yeah, I definitely felt like at times like, oh, there's nobody there for me. Like I think
Mhm.
many people feel like that, and it's just like a lot of the times it's not true. It's
Mhm.
just sometimes I let my anxiety get in the way of like reaching out to people that care about me and would be there for me
Oh, Mindy, you know I know
regardless.
that. You
Yes.
know I know that. I'm like, girl, I'm just in my head. I don't even want to talk. And then
Yes.
5 seconds later, are you sure? Yeah, I do want to talk, but I just feel like it's so
Yeah.
much easier
To
because for
like
me,
internalize it, but like
yeah,
it's not easier. It's actually harder
to
because
internalize
it's
it.
yeah, because you're building up so much like tension and aggression and
Mm,
within yourself, and it just makes you feel like heavy.
it does. It does make you feel heavy. So, okay, okay, I do see that because I think what it is it's not that it's easier to do, it's that it's the easiest choice. You know, we always talk
Mm,
about making difficult choices or getting uncomfortable with healing, right? We always talk about sitting in the uncomfortable feelings, allowing ourselves to feel the things and think the thoughts and things like that. But something that I'm realizing also is like when I say it's easier to do to just kind of turn inward, it is because that's the easier choice. The harder choice would
yeah.
be like, man, let me be real vulnerable and talk to this person about this.
Yeah,
Because
being vulnerable is really hard.
mhm,
Um, because like people are seeing like the innermost parts of you,
mhm,
and once you let it out into the world, it's like it's almost like not yours anymore. Like these
y
people can
yes.
take whatever information you just told them and like tell
Mhm,
other people, use it against you.
mhm.
Um but I think there's strength in vulnerability, and
Oh,
really
yes.
it helps you build close relationships, and
It
it helps you
does.
feel seen and heard, and helps you just connect with other people, and um yeah.
I always say that there's strength and vulnerability. I always say
Yes.
that. That is the whole point of this podcast, y'all. But like, I I don't think I'm ever gonna get tired of saying it because it's so true. It is so true because that's where you find the right people. The right
Yes.
person will hear you say, there is strength in being vulnerable. And that right person will be like, you know what? Yeah, I can relate to your
Like,
story.
or
And
they can be like glad that you said it
yeah,
because it affirmed them.
yes. And I
Yeah.
think I found that within our friendship too, because you affirm things in me, and I hope I affirm some things in you too. But it's like when it happens, thank you. Thank you. We were talking about vulnerability, and you said that it can affirm the other person
Yes.
when we share those stories. And I agree. But now I have a question regarding it's gonna be a hard one, y'all. I don't know if y'all ready for this part, but we always talk about how we can lean on our support system. But what about the times where we feel that maybe we're leaning on our support system a little too much? How do you think that there's um a time where someone can be relying on their support system too much, or do you think that how do
I
you feel about
think
that?
I think there can be a time that that is possible. Like
Mhm.
I think sometimes if you are constantly looking for like external validation, and
Mm,
it can kind of bleed into like you probably not even trusting yourself,
mm,
or not knowing like what you think, um which is I think a huge issue because that can lead to being like disconnected to yourself, and that has
Mm,
its own consequences.
of course.
Um, so, but also you have to think about the other person too. Like, how are
Exactly.
they feeling with you leaning on them? Like, are they okay with that?
Yeah.
Or like, do they have boundaries within themselves that
Uh-huh.
that they are feeling hard, that it's hard to like exert with you?
Hmm.
Or do they feel like they can't stand their ground because they feel sorry for you, or like they don't want to hurt your feelings, or like
Yeah.
uh so just like being aware, self-aware, and then like being aware of like how this other person might feel, but like
Exactly.
also trying to foster and encourage a genuine conversation, because some people will be like, oh no, it's fine that you're doing all this, and like I just want to be
Mhm.
there for you, but like it's just like it turns out that it's not really fine, and they're kind of just doing
Yeah.
it to appease you, but like
Yeah.
also that's also their issue too, and they need to
That's where it gets a
work
little
on
sticky.
that there work
Yeah.
on that themselves.
Exactly. I would say that's exactly right. I agree with that 1000% because that's where the lines can be a little blurred because sometimes we get so caught up in the day to day and we get so caught up in what we have going on that we honestly can forget to check in, you know? And
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily that's the end of the friendship or that's the end of the community or anything like that. It doesn't have to be this be all end all thing, but it is great to be able to acknowledge and say, hey, well, I don't really have the capacity to hear such and such today. And not that you think
Yes.
about it a lot, it's just I'm not in the right headspace. You feel me?
Yeah.
And
It might be too much for me today, but
that's
if
cool.
I can support you in another way,
I
and
love
also
that.
with support, you gotta like, I think with support nowadays you have to be specific.
Yes, you have to be
Specific.
specific. Yeah, I
Like,
was gonna say
can I bring you food? Can I pay a bill? Can I take you to this place? Because
yes.
some people just don't know how they
They
want
don't know.
other people to show up for them.
Yeah, and also what you just said to touch on your point a little bit. There are people who don't even know what the actual definition of support is. You know, there are people that don't understand that being supportive is not the same as being what is the word? Let me think of. The sponge. Being supportive is not the same as being the sponge where you
Yes.
soak everything up because and I as a former sponge, let me tell it, as a former sponge all throughout my childhood, I took on everyone's problems. I took on everyone's energy. And I'm
Yeah.
still a sponge in some ways because I'm an empath. So that's always going to be apparent, right? I'm able to understand and put myself in other people's shoes. Cool. But at some point, and I talked about this before on the podcast, y'all, but at some point, just because you can put your feet in their shoes, don't mean you got to keep walking in them. It does
Mm.
not mean you got to stay in their situation. You got to keep feeling their feelings. We got to learn to decipher between our feelings and theirs, our thoughts and theirs.
Yes.
So support does not always equal sponge. Okay.
Yeah. Because also people might need other like forms, and I think it's best to ask like sometimes, like especially when like if the support looks like venting, like do
Mhm.
you want advice today? Do you just want me to sit and listen? um
Exactly.
do you want me to chime in but not give advice? I
Right.
think that's also
Or
another thing.
taking it from the lens of like, do you want to come up with a game plan? Not even the advice, but like, do you want to talk this thing
Like,
out
do you want a
hypothetically?
solution?
Yeah. Do we want solutions? Do we want hypothetical situations? What do we need in this moment? How can I support you in this moment? Do you want support verbally? Do you want me because listen, one thing I'm not gonna do, I ain't gonna bend over backwards, but I can ask you, how do you want me to be there for you right now? How can I be
Yes.
there for you in this moment? Because I can't just assume that based off of my love language that yours is also acts of service or that yours is also words of affirmation. So I start hyping you up and I start giving you encouragement. And you're like, nah, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important to have that space again where you can say, what does that look like for you? Because I was having a conversation just the other day and I was talking about how what my boundaries look like within friendships and within just relationships, within different dynamics. And I was like, my boundaries pretty much stay the same because
Hmm.
they're my boundaries. Now, they can be modified depending on scenarios, but the premise of them stays the same, right? They are to be
Hmm.
respected. I am to feel heard, not even understood. I am just to feel heard, seen, valued, appreciated, whatever the case may be. Because the moment that someone starts to take my kindness for weakness, and you and I have talked about this, the moment that
Hmm.
someone starts to do that or take me out of consideration, especially pertaining to a situation that involves me, that's when I'm like, I'm not understanding anymore. I'm not kind anymore because now I have to sit with the different emotions that come up. And that's my work, right? That's my homework. But the homework that should be done collectively is the conversation that should have happened where it's like, oh, yeah, I see how that, that's where you're able to say, oh, let me check you on that because maybe you weren't aware, but let me reiterate for you, because people
Hmm.
don't know what they don't know, right? So
Yes. Of course.
community can't thrive on what they don't know either. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, your support systems can't be, that's why I said support versus sponge. It can't
Yeah.
be no clue what this situation is. They have no clue what these emotions are bringing up or this situation is bringing up for you, and then you just splutter it all over them. That's that's not a healthy version of support. That is
Yes.
word vomit.
Yeah.
Word
And
vomit.
it's not something that you can do all the time.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It is harmful. It can be harmful. And this ain't to throw shots at anybody that do this, because sometimes I used to do this all the time. But
Mm.
I learned that if I address the situation and I just say, all right, let me just take a second, let me take a minute. Now I can pinpoint where I'm feeling. Now I can pinpoint what I want to say and it can come out a lot clearer versus me calling and I'm in the middle of having a panic attack and nobody knows what's going on. That's,
Yeah.
you know, yes, you can do that in to an extent, because yes, if you need help, by all means ask for that help, but don't ask for it in a way where you're like entitled to it, expectant of it, and it's like, well, why aren't you helping me, you know what I mean? Because it's not,
Yeah.
everyone's emotional labor is different, and it's not
Yes.
fair to put that emotional labor onto someone else who may be going through their own things. That's why before anything even comes out of my mouth, I'm like, are you all right? Or do you have the capacity to talk to me for a second? Is we good?
Yes.
Because you want to know where they are emotionally before you just start, okay, let me just dump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think that's where true growth comes. Because when you're able to have that self-awareness and be like, well, I'm aware that I'm doing this, and you see that it could be affecting someone, you having that awareness and saying, well, what if it is affecting them this way? And you asking, that goes a long way, because hey, they may not even be feeling that way, but you still asked.
Yeah.
You know? You
But
still. I think that's beautiful, man.
yeah.
Support is definitely. I don't know.
Why I'm
I
alive. Literally why I'm alive.
literally while you're alive.
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. No, and I think it's it's very beautiful when we look at it from a full circle lens of like how people have to grow on their own terms, right? They have to grow in their own time.
Yes.
And can't be leaning on people that haven't done the work or or
Yes.
refuse to do the work because it comes back full circle, y'all. But how are you going to feel emotionally secure or emotionally safe or when the person that you're speaking to lacks that what did you just say? The intellectual safety or the intellectual safety net to even be able to catch that.
Yes.
You can't. It's you're stuck. You're going in a circle for a reason.
Yes.
Cause I can't tell you how many times I've been like, okay, um I can get reassurance from the person that didn't give me reassurance. I've done that. And it's a weird thing to do, but I have done that because of the titles in which I have placed on people within my community,
Hmm.
within the circle that's around me. It could have been a family member. Oh, okay, yeah, I can get that from them because that is my family member and I'm expecting or I got these expectations, you know what I mean? But then when you're
Yes.
that's not met, whew, that's why it's hard to lean on those who have not done that emotional labor themselves, who have decided not to pick up that emotional labor to begin with.
Yeah. Have
That's I
not decided to get to know themselves deeper
yeah,
and sit
because
with like the ugly parts of themselves.
mhm. Because let me tell y'all something, and I'm sure Mindy's gonna agree. But the biggest part about healing is coming back to understanding who you are. It ain't about everybody else. It's
Hmm.
about learning why your emotions are the way that they are, or why situations cause you to feel the way that you feel, and what that how that correlates to you now. Taking a deeper look at introspectively what's going on. Because if my healing were about other people, I'd be lost forever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I feel like I would genuinely be lost forever. If it was about having to understand why somebody did something to me, oh my goodness. I would probably never get answers. And that's the hard truth about healing, or that's the hard truth about coming to terms with a lot of the experience
Yeah.
that we had in life. Because it's not about other people. It's about you.
Yeah. And just figuring out like if they don't give me this apology or like if they don't
Mm-hmm.
do this certain thing, will I be okay?
Yes.
Or like how can I
Oh,
get to a place where I am okay and
yes.
what is stopping me from being okay without this one thing?
Exactly. Like prime example for me was I don't know, at one point in my healing, I was reliant, dependent upon an apology from someone for years. And I was like, I'm just not getting my apology. And I'm so mad. And I was so like disappointed in the fact that this person was not giving me the apology, but I was apologizing for my part. And it was like, okay, so now and and this ties into what I wanted to touch on next, which is we can't give other people our growth. You feel me? Let me say that again. We cannot give other people our growth in our mind, is what I'm trying to say. So, like, let's say we're having a conversation with someone and we're seeking them out in a community space and we're seeking them out in a supportive, like, we want to lean on them or we want them to lean on us. And we've done the work, but they haven't. You don't give them your growth. If you see where they are, let them be where they are. Don't try to place the growth that you've got onto them because it's just not going to work out that way because they may or may not accept it. I
Yeah.
think I think when it comes to finding and seeking those who are for you, you will know. There
Yeah.
will be no question. There may be some hesitation. This is not to say like when you know, and it's in your gut and
Yeah.
this
Definitely
no,
use discernment.
use discernment now. But if you're in an environment where you're feeling out of sorts and the energy is just not quite hitting the same and you're like, okay, I'm overwhelmed to the max, vocalize that. And that will tell you whether or not this energy, you know what I mean? That'll either affirm it for you or confirm it for you. Either way, you will
Hmm.
know then. At least that's how I navigate my chosen energies around me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a feeling of like, oh yeah, that person. Like, it's not going to be a sense of like unease. You might be a little hesitant, but what we're saying is it's not going to make you be like, oh my god, oh, you're not going to be instantly panicking. That's a
Yeah.
trigger. You know what I mean? That's a trigger. But if it's something where it's like, okay, baby toe, dip your toe in a little bit. Don't go, you know, be gentle with yourself during this time as you're trying to find the right community because you've never done this before.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like I've met a couple of people, and as someone who used to be like, oh my god, everyone's my friend. I'm not gonna lie. Every person I met, oh, I met a new friend. Yeah, that's my friend. Everybody's friend.
Yeah. But it's also like you gotta define what a friend is. Then
Yes.
that goes back on to like what I was talking about in the beginning
Uh-huh.
about like figuring out what you even like in a friend and like what does that look like? Like,
And
is
mm,
somebody your friend because is in order for somebody to be your friend, you have to hang out with them all the time. You have to talk to like how what does communication look like? What do they have to do for you? What do you have to do for them? Like, what does that look like?
exactly.
Because not everybody is because I think some people sometimes are afraid to say that people are an acquaintance or
Yeah.
like um that they just don't know these people well.
There's nothing wrong with the word acquaintance.
Yes.
I love that word now. If I just met you a month ago, you're still an acquaintance to me.
Yes.
If I just met you 3 months ago, baby, you're in the water. You're in the very shallow end of a friendship. We're still testing the water.
Yes. If I'm and like also for me, if I'm not like
Yeah,
talking to you like
regularly.
once a month, I don't know if I can call you a friend.
I like that
Like
though.
I don't know. Like I've really thought about that and
Uh-huh.
I've really thought about like hmm like cuz I have friends that I talk to every single day or at
Yeah,
least every week.
yeah.
And I'm like, hmm, I know I like with some people I enjoy that.
Yeah.
But I'm like really trying to figure out like can somebody be your friend and you
Mhm.
haven't talked in 3 months?
Yes. You can listen. I see what you mean. A friendship doesn't die based off of time, though. A bond doesn't go away based on time. It goes away based on actions. So if we're looking at it from the
Yes.
yeah, you
But
see,
like but you have to like how are
oh,
you showing up in a friendship? Like
ooh, wait a second. Don't hit me where it hurt right now, bitch. Oh no. Hold on. Did y'all hear that? She said, but it goes back to how are you showing up as a friend? Oh my God. Let me sit with that for a second.
yeah, I've been thinking about it.
Oh my God. No, you're absolutely right. Because if we're saying that the basis of a friendship is variables, right? And it can vary or vary based off of different people or how everyone's
Yeah.
journey. Because I was going to say this. When you said it goes back to what the values that you have in a friend, I think that it goes back to the values in what you have in yourself. How are you a friend to yourself?
Mm.
How are you nice to yourself? How do you show up for yourself? Because the way you show up for yourself is going to determine the way that other people show up for you.
I
If you
agree.
exactly. So if I value my birthday and I want us to go and have a good old time and everything, I need to make that clear to you. Because if I don't
Yeah.
make it clear to you, you're not gonna know. And then that gives me
Yeah.
reason to be upset because you didn't show up to the birthday party, or you didn't get me a cake, or you didn't do something that I was expecting because I had a preconceived notion. That's not how friendship should work.
Yeah.
But
But I think you just need to put
yeah,
effort.
huh? What'd you say?
Like, I think you need to put effort. Like,
Yeah, of
and
course.
like those people that you only talk to like
Mhm.
every 3 months,
Mhm.
also, why are you talking to them? Is it
Mhm.
because you want to update them on your life? Is it because
Mhm.
every time you're talking to them you need something?
Mhm.
Or or is it just like casual, like you're just sending like TikToks or like
Right. Or does it look like
or you're sliding up on Instagram or like
mhm,
I don't know. I think it's okay to call those people
associates,
acquaintances
acquaint
or
associates,
associates.
acquaintances?
Yeah.
I agree. I don't see anything wrong with that either. But I think for me,
But I do agree that like it doesn't die,
yeah,
but
it doesn't die.
I think just life moves so
It
fast that like
does.
sometimes when I feel like I haven't talked to like this is just for example, if I haven't
Mhm.
talked to you in 3 months, it's like, do I even still know you? Like, am I even still like because I
Considered
feel like
in
a
the
lot of things can change in 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
no, you're
Like,
absolutely right. You're absolutely right because I think that too. But here's the thing. I used to, and this was anxiety attachments, okay? That I'm gonna call it out. I'm gonna call it out. I'm accountable. But I used to base my friendships on how often someone texted me. And I
hmm.
used to
Yeah,
base,
I don't do that, but
you
that's
know,
interesting.
yeah, I know it said anxiety attachment.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely anxiety.
I know. So that's what I'm saying. I used to base the, well, not how often, but like whether or not I'm the one constantly sending messages and I'm the one constantly pouring in, you know? And
But I also think that's important. Like,
oh,
are people like if you stop contacting these people,
yeah,
would the friendship just die? Would you not hear from them? I think that's important to
okay.
be
So
aware of.
okay. Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, but I feel like it was more so like this, then stay tuned for part 2 of the episode with Mindy. We are still going to be discussing all things friendship related and community related, but we just had to break it up in a couple of parts. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first part. Again, thank you for seeing and hearing me. If you like to hear more, you guys know what to do. You guys can follow me at the Patreon and you can follow me on Instagram. And of course, stay tuned on Spotify for more episodes. Peace.